What's up everyone, welcome back to SwitchTop. Today we're counting down the top 25 Nintendo Switch games you absolutely need to experience before you die. These aren't just good games, these are the ones that'll stick with you long after you put down the controller. No fluff, just straight up gaming excellence. Let's get into it. Cuphead is a run-and-gun boss rush game that looks like a 1930s cartoon came to life. And honestly, that hand-drawn art style is just the beginning. You play as Cuphead, and optionally Mugman in co-op, who made a bad deal with the devil and now has to collect soul contracts from various debtors across Inkwell Isle to save yourself. The gameplay is brutally difficult, but incredibly fair. You've got a pea shooter that can be swapped for different shot types, a parry mechanic that lets you slap pink objects to build your super meter, and a dash to dodge the absolute chaos happening on screen. Most of the game is boss fights, and each one has multiple phases with completely different attack patterns you'll need to memorize. You can also find coins hidden in the run-and-gun platforming levels to buy new weapons and charms from the shop. The difficulty will test your patience, but when you finally beat that boss that's been destroying you for an hour, it feels absolutely incredible. The jazz soundtrack perfectly complements the frantic action, and everything is animated frame by frame, just like old cartoons. It's tough as nails, but if you want a real challenge that respects your time and skill, Cuphead delivers. Celeste puts you in control of Madeline, a young woman climbing Celeste Mountain while dealing with anxiety and self-doubt that manifests as a dark version of herself. The story tackles mental health in a genuinely respectful way, as Madeline confronts her inner demons, both literally and figuratively, throughout the climb. Gameplay-wise, it's a precision platformer where you can run, jump, climb walls briefly, and dash once in any direction before touching the ground to recharge it. That's literally all you get, but the game builds incredibly creative challenges from these simple mechanics. You'll die constantly. I'm talking hundreds of times per chapter, but respawns are instant and checkpoints are generous, so it never feels frustrating. Each chapter introduces new mechanics, like moving platforms, bubbles that refresh your dash, or dream blocks you can pass through once. The B-sides and C-sides unlock after beating chapters and crank the difficulty way up for players who want an extra challenge. The pixel art is gorgeous, the soundtrack by Lena Raine is phenomenal, and there's even an assist mode if you want to experience the story without the hardcore platforming. Persona 5 Royal is a massive JRPG where you're a high school transfer student in Tokyo who gains the power to enter people's twisted cognitions and steal their corrupt desires. You and your friends form the Phantom Thieves, targeting adults who abuse their power, like abusive teachers, mafia bosses, and corrupt politicians, by infiltrating their palaces and stealing the treasure at their core, which reforms them in the real world. The gameplay splits between dungeon crawling and daily life simulation. In palaces, you're sneaking around, ambushing enemies, and engaging in turn-based combat, where hitting enemy weaknesses gives you extra turns and can lead to all-out attacks. Outside of dungeons, you're managing your time, building relationships with friends and confidants to unlock gameplay bonuses, studying to improve your stats, working part-time jobs, or just exploring Tokyo. Every day matters because you have limited time before deadlines. The social links aren't just side content either, they directly impact your combat abilities and unlock powerful persona fusions. Combat uses a Pokemon-like system where you can collect and fuse personas for different abilities, and your party members each have unique skills. The game is easily 100+ hours and packed with content.
Persona! Something isn't working! Crow's got some moves! Enemy is tough.
Balatro takes poker and turns it into an addictive roguelike deck builder that'll have you saying, just one more run at 3 a.m. You're playing poker hands to score points and beat target scores across multiple rounds. But here's the twist. You can buy Joker cards that completely break the rules. Some Jokers multiply your score when you play certain hands. Others add chips for specific card suits. And some have wild effects. like turning cards into glass or steel for massive bonuses. Between rounds, you visit the shop to buy new Joker cards, planet cards that level up specific poker hands for more points, tarot cards that modify your deck, or vouchers that give permanent bonuses. You can also skip rounds for cash or open booster packs to add better cards to your deck. The strategy comes from building synergies between your jokers and the poker hands you're focusing on. Maybe you're stacking jokers that boost flushes, or building around getting multiplicative bonuses. Each run has 8 antes, with 3 rounds each, and the score requirements get exponentially higher, forcing you to optimize your build. Bayonetta 2 puts you back in the high heels of the Umbra Witch Bayonetta, as she fights through heaven and hell to save her best friend Jean's soul, after a demon drags it to the underworld. The story is wild anime nonsense, with angels, demons, time travel, and reality-bending set pieces. But honestly, you're here for the combat. This is character action at its absolute finest. You're juggling enemies with pistols attached to your hands and feet, summoning demon limbs for massive attacks, and using Witch Time, a slowdown effect you trigger by dodging at the last second. The combat system is incredibly deep, with different weapon combinations you can equip to your hands and feet, each creating different combos. You can also equip different demon summons for devastating finishing moves when you build up your magic meter. The game throws you into ridiculous scenarios, like fighting a giant dragon on top of a fighter jet, or battling angels on a speeding train. Every chapter ends with a ranking system that grades your performance, encouraging you to replay for better scores. There's a ton of unlockable costumes, weapons, and accessories, plus harder difficulty modes that completely change enemy patterns. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a 2D platformer where the Snowmads freeze DK Island, and you've got to travel through 6 worlds to take it back. You control Donkey Kong with the option to carry a partner Diddy Kong, who gives you a jetpack hover, Dixie Kong with her helicopter ponytail for extra airtime, Cranky Kong, who can pogo on his cane like Scrooge McDuck, or Funky Kong in the Switch version, who has extra health and easier controls. The platforming is incredibly tight, with momentum-based movement that feels weighty and satisfying. You're rolling, jumping, ground pounding, grabbing onto vines, and using barrel cannons to navigate through levels packed with secrets. Each world has a unique theme with distinct mechanics. You'll swim through underwater sections, ride minecarts, blast through barrel sequences, and platform through collapsing environments. The level design is legitimately some of the best in any platformer, constantly introducing new ideas and never reusing concepts. Boss fights are creative and challenging, requiring you to learn patterns and react quickly. Collecting all the Kong letters and puzzle pieces in each level adds serious replay value. The difficulty is no joke either. This game will test your platforming skills, especially in the later worlds.
Oh! Ew, dude!
Hollow Knight Silksong follows Hornet, the princess protector of Hallownest, who's been captured and wakes up in a strange new kingdom called Farloom. She needs to ascend from the bottom of this kingdom to the top, while uncovering why she was brought here and what's threatening this land. The gameplay shifts from the original's nail-based combat to Hornet's needle and thread fighting style, which is faster and more aggressive. You've got a quick needle strike, the ability to throw your needle with thread attached for ranged attacks, and various tools you unlock, like traps and specialized attacks. Instead of the soul system from the first game, Hornet builds Silk from landing hits, which you spend on abilities and healing. The platforming is more acrobatic too. Hornet can dash through the air multiple times and has better mobility options. You're exploring interconnected areas in true Metroidvania fashion, unlocking new abilities that let you access previously blocked paths. Combat is challenging, with tough enemies and intense boss fights that require learning attack patterns. The world is filled with secrets, side quests, and lore to discover. The hand-drawn art style is absolutely gorgeous, with detailed environments and smooth animations. Super Mario Bros. Wonder takes Mario and friends to the Flower Kingdom, where Prince Florian is turned into a tree by Bowser, who merges with the kingdom's power source. The real hook here is the Wonder Flower effect that completely transforms levels in unpredictable ways mid-stage. 1 second you're doing normal platforming, then you grab the Wonder Flower and suddenly the level becomes a side-scrolling rhythm game. Or you turn into a Goomba, or pipes start walking around with legs, or the entire perspective shifts. Every level has its own unique wonder effect, and it keeps you genuinely surprised throughout the whole game. The new Elephant power-up lets you smash blocks, spray water, and swing your trunk for attacks, while the Bubble and Drill power-ups add different approaches to levels. The badge system is completely new. You equip one badge before each level that gives special abilities like wall jumping, starting with a mushroom, or dolphin kicking in water. There are 12 playable characters, including Yoshi and Nabbit, who have easier difficulty for newer players. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening is a full remake of the Game Boy Classic, where Link washes up on Koholint Island after a shipwreck and needs to wake the Windfish to escape. The story takes a darker turn as you discover the true nature of the island and what waking the Windfish actually means for the inhabitants you've befriended. Gameplay is classic top-down Zelda. You're exploring dungeons, solving puzzles, fighting enemies, and collecting items that open up new areas. The dungeons are brilliantly designed, with puzzles that require you to think about how your items interact with the environment. You've got series staples like the bow, bombs, and hookshot, plus unique items like the Rock's Feather for jumping and the Power Bracelet for lifting objects. Combat is simple but satisfying, with sword slashes, shield blocks, and timing-based encounters. The overworld is packed with secrets, heart pieces, and side quests, like the trading sequence and collecting secret seashells. The new Chamber Dungeon feature lets you create custom dungeons using rooms you've cleared, which is a cool addition. The toy-like art style is absolutely charming, with a tilt-shift effect that makes everything look miniature. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the ultimate kart racing game, and probably the most essential multiplayer experience on the Switch. You're racing as characters from across Nintendo's history on 48 tracks, with the DLC included, that feature anti-gravity sections where you drive on walls and ceilings, underwater segments, and glider sections. The anti-gravity completely changes track design when you're upside down or on walls. Bumping into other racers or special bumpers gives you a speed boost instead of slowing you down. You've got the standard kart racing items like shells, bananas, mushrooms, and the brutal blue shell that targets first place. The item balance is pretty good, with players further back getting stronger items to keep races competitive. The game runs at a perfect 60 frames per second, whether docked or handheld, and looks gorgeous with vibrant colors and smooth animations. The handling has enough depth with different characters, kart combinations, and tire choices that affect your speed, acceleration, and handling stats. Battle mode got completely overhauled for this version, with dedicated arenas and modes like Balloon Battle, Ba-Bomb Blast, and Renegade Roundup. Local multiplayer supports up to 4 players split screen, and online play works great with 12 racers. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition brings the Wii Classic to Switch with a complete visual overhaul and all the content you could want. You play as Shulk, a young engineer living on the Bionis, a massive titan frozen in time after an ancient battle with another titan called the Mechonis. When mechanical enemies called Mechon attack his colony and kill someone close to him, Shulk picks up the legendary Monado sword and discovers he can see glimpses of the future. The story takes you across the entire body of these two titans as you uncover the truth about their world and the war between organic and mechanical life. Combat is real-time, but uses an auto-attack system where you position yourself and use arts, which are special abilities with cooldowns. The Monado gives you visions of enemy attacks before they happen, letting you warn your party and change equipment or positioning to prevent deaths. You've got a party of 7 characters total, each with unique roles and skill trees you customize. The world is absolutely massive, with hundreds of side quests, heart-to-hearts that develop character relationships, and exploration rewarded with experience points just for discovering landmarks.
Thanks, Ryan. That was a close one. Man, what were you doing wandering off by yourself?
Sonic Mania Plus is the ultimate love letter to classic 2D Sonic, built by fans who became developers and understand exactly what made those Genesis games special. The story is simple. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are after the Phantom Ruby, a powerful gem that's causing trouble, and you'll blast through 12 zones, mixing reimagined classics like Green Hill and Chemical Plant with brand new stages. The gameplay is pure momentum-based platforming, where you're building speed, hitting springs and loops, and maintaining that flow through levels. Each character plays differently. Sonic has his drop dash from Mania that lets you instantly roll out of a jump. Tails can fly and swim. Knuckles can glide and climb walls. And the Plus version adds Mighty the Armadillo, who can ground pound, and Ray, the flying squirrel, who can glide even farther than Tails. Levels have multiple paths, with higher routes rewarding skilled players, and lower paths being more forgiving, but slower. The bonus stages for Chaos Emeralds are fully 3D races where you chase a UFO, and special stages are throwbacks to Sonic CD's time trial challenges. Boss fights are incredibly creative, often doing unexpected things that break the usual Sonic formula. Luigi's Mansion 3 has Luigi and friends invited to a fancy hotel called the Last Resort for a vacation, but it's obviously a trap set by King Boo, who captures everyone except Luigi in paintings. Now Luigi has to work his way up all 15 floors of this haunted hotel, each with a completely different theme to rescue Mario, Peach, and the Toads while dealing with his fear of ghosts. The gameplay revolves around the Poltergust G00 vacuum that sucks up ghosts after you stun them with your flashlight's strobe. You can now slam ghosts into the ground and other ghosts for extra damage, use a suction shot to rip off armor or pull objects, and deploy a burst that blows everything away. The game's killer feature is Gooigi, a goo clone of Luigi that can squeeze through bars, walk on spikes, and help solve puzzles by doing things Luigi can't. You're constantly switching between them even in single player, and it adds a ton of puzzle variety. Each floor has a themed boss ghost with unique mechanics, like a director ghost where you're dodging spotlights, or a pharaoh ghost in an Egyptian tomb. The environmental interaction is insane. You can vacuum basically everything, and hidden money and collectibles are everywhere if you explore. Super Mario Odyssey throws Mario into a globe-trotting adventure after Bowser kidnaps Peach for a forced wedding and destroys Mario's hat in the process. Mario teams up with Cappy, a sentient hat whose sister was also kidnapped, and together they travel to various kingdoms in an airship called the Odyssey, which runs on power moons you collect. The revolutionary mechanic here is the Cap throw and capture ability. You can possess enemies and objects by throwing Cappy at them, which completely changes how you play. Capturing a Bullet Bill lets you fly, capturing a T-Rex lets you destroy everything, and capturing a Goomba lets you stack them to reach high places. Each kingdom is a sandbox filled with power moons, and there are over 800 total to collect through exploration, challenges, and secrets. Movement feels incredible, with Mario having a huge moveset including long jumps, side flips, wall jumps, and dive jumps that can be chained together for speed. Some moons are obvious, some require puzzle solving, and others need serious platforming skills to reach. The kingdoms are incredibly diverse. You've got New Donk City with realistic humans and a jazz festival, a food-themed kingdom, a desert with an inverted pyramid, and many more. Fire Emblem Three Houses puts you in the role of a mercenary who becomes a professor at the Officers' Academy in Garreg Mach Monastery, where you choose to lead one of three houses, the Black Eagles, Blue Lions, or Golden Deer. Each house has different students with their own personalities, and the story dramatically changes based on which house you pick, eventually leading to a continent-wide war where your former students from other houses become enemies. The monastery sections have you teaching classes, building relationships with students through tea time and meals, exploring for side quests, and preparing for the next battle. Combat is turn-based tactical gameplay on grid maps, where positioning, weapon advantages, and character classes matter hugely. You can reclass students into different roles by training their skills, turn a mage into a knight, or an archer into a flying wyvern rider if you want. The battalion system lets you equip units with squads that provide stat boosts and special gambit attacks. Permadeath is optional, with casual mode letting fallen units return after battle, but classic mode makes every loss permanent and way more tense.
My efforts are paying off.
I must stay focused.
Metroid Prime Remastered brings the GameCube masterpiece to Switch, with completely overhauled visuals that make it look like a modern game. You're playing as Samus Aran, investigating a distress signal on the planet Talon 4, which has been corrupted by a radioactive substance called Phozon after a meteor impact. You'll explore interconnected areas in first person, scanning enemies and lore entries to piece together what happened to the Chozo civilization that once lived here, while hunting space pirates and tracking the villain Metroid Prime. The gameplay blends first-person shooting with exploration and puzzle solving. Your arm cannon has different beams you unlock: Power Beam, Wave Beam, Ice Beam, and Plasma Beam, each effective against different enemies and needed for certain obstacles. You've got missiles for heavy damage and the Morph Ball for tight spaces, which also gets bombs for puzzle solving and combat. The Metroidvania structure has you constantly backtracking to previous areas with new abilities like the Grapple Beam or Spider Ball to access blocked paths. Combat requires you to lock onto enemies, strafe around them, and switch beams based on their weaknesses while managing your resources. Hades 2 continues the story with you playing as Malinoe, the sister of Zagreus from the first game, who's training to defeat Kronos, the Titan of Time who's escaped and taken over the underworld while holding Hades captive. Malinoe's goal is to descend into the underworld to confront Kronos and rescue her family, but she's also investigating the surface world to gather resources and allies. The roguelike structure is similar to the first game. You fight through procedurally arranged rooms, choosing paths and collecting boons from the Olympian gods that modify your abilities. Combat feels different from the first game, with Malinoe using witch magic and different weapons like the Sister Blades for quick strikes or the Moonstone Axe for heavy hits. You build up magic instead of casting, which you spend on powerful Omega abilities that are charged versions of your regular spells. Between runs, you return to the Crossroads Hub, where you use resources to unlock permanent upgrades, advance relationships with other characters, and brew incantations that change game mechanics or unlock new features. The card system adds another layer, where you can equip tarot-like cards for passive bonuses.
All quiet. Spindles.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 takes place in Ionios, a world where two nations, Keves and Agnes, are locked in endless war, with soldiers living only 10 years before their life terms expire. You control Noah from Keves and Mio from Agnes, who lead their respective parties until they encounter each other and discover they can interlink into a powerful combined form called Ouroboros. Together, the 6 of them desert their armies to find the truth about their world, why they're fighting, and how to stop the cycle of war and death that's been going on for generations. The combat system is the deepest in the series, with characters having classes that determine their roles as attackers, defenders, or healers. And you can learn arts from other classes to mix and match abilities. Chain attacks let you pause time and coordinate massive damage with strategic character swaps and timing. The Ouroboros forms are transformations, where 2 characters fuse for powerful, limited-time combat modes. You've got fusion arts that combine class abilities, gem crafting for stat bonuses, and hero characters you recruit that add new classes and abilities to learn. The world is enormous, with 7 distinct regions to explore, tons of side quests, and a huge cast of characters with their own arcs.
Whoa, visitor!
I'll draw them.
Smooth as always, Noah.
SteamWorld Heist Ultimate Edition is a turn-based strategy game with a unique twist. Instead of grid-based movement, you're aiming shots in real time during your turn. You play as Captain Piper Faraday, a smuggler and space pirate, leading a crew of steam-powered robots through procedurally generated spaceships to steal loot and fight enemy robots. The story follows your crew as they navigate a dying universe after Earth's water has been scattered across space, dealing with rival factions and uncovering secrets about the Vectron force controlling everything. Combat has you moving characters along a 2D plane and manually aiming your weapons, which is where the strategy comes in. You can bounce bullets off walls and ceilings to hit enemies behind cover, ricochet headshots for instant kills, or go for body shots if you're not confident. Each character has different weapon types and special abilities. Some are snipers, others use shotguns or rocket launchers, and abilities range from healing to buffing attack. Between missions, you upgrade your crew with better weapons, hats that provide stat bonuses and look cool, and utility items like shields. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom picks up after Breath of the Wild, with Link and Zelda investigating a mummified corpse beneath Hyrule Castle, accidentally releasing Ganondorf, who's been sealed for thousands of years. The awakening causes Hyrule Castle to rise into the sky and shatters the Master Sword, while Zelda disappears and Link wakes up on a sky island with a corrupted arm. You're exploring 3 distinct layers: the sky islands above Hyrule, the familiar but changed surface world, and the massive underground depths filled with darkness and danger. The game introduces completely new abilities that redefine how you interact with the world. Ultra Hand lets you grab and manipulate objects, sticking them together to build vehicles, bridges, flying machines, or whatever you can imagine. Fuse lets you combine weapons with materials to create unique combinations, solving the durability problem by letting you enhance weapons constantly. Ascend lets you phase through ceilings to reach areas above you, and Recall reverses the movement of objects through time. These abilities create insane puzzle solutions, and the game never forces a single answer. You can approach shrines and challenges in creative ways the developers probably never expected. Astral Chain is a Platinum Games action title set in a dystopian future where humanity's last survivors live in a megacity called the Ark, under constant threat from interdimensional creatures called chimeras. You play as a rookie officer in Neuron, an elite police task force, and after your first mission goes wrong, you get bonded with a legion, basically a tamed chimera that fights alongside you on a psychic chain. The story follows your investigation into the source of the chimera attacks, while dealing with conspiracy and family drama involving your twin sibling. Combat is where this game shines, because you're controlling both your character and your legion simultaneously. You can attack with your X-Baton weapon while your legion performs its own moves, and the chain between you creates unique mechanics, like wrapping it around enemies to bind them, or using it to yank yourself toward the legion for positioning. You unlock 5 different legion types throughout the game: sword, arrow, arm, beast, and axe, each with completely different abilities and combat styles. Between missions, you're investigating crime scenes using your Legion's abilities to scan for clues, question witnesses, and solve puzzles. Ori and the Will of the Wisps continues the story of Ori, the guardian spirit, who's now searching for their owl friend Ku after she's swept away by a storm into the decaying land of Naiwen. The forest of Naiwen is dying because its spirit willow has been corrupted, and Ori needs to restore the light and save both Ku and the land. The game is a Metroidvania platformer with incredibly fluid movement that feels amazing to control. You start with basic jumps and can wall climb, but as you explore, you unlock abilities like Bash, which lets you launch off projectiles and enemies in any direction, Grapple for swinging through areas, Burrow for digging underground, and eventually glide and dash through water. Combat got a massive upgrade from the first game with actual weapons and abilities you can equip. You've got a Spirit Edge sword for melee, a bow for ranged attacks, a hammer for heavy hits, and tons of other weapons and spells you find throughout the world. You can equip 3 abilities at once and customize your playstyle completely. The shard system lets you equip passive abilities like extra health, faster energy regeneration, or combat bonuses, and you're constantly finding new shards to experiment with. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is set in Alrest, a world where humanity lives on the backs of massive creatures called Titans that are slowly dying. You play as Rex, a salvager who dives into the Cloud Sea for treasure, until he's hired to salvage something from an ancient ship, and accidentally awakens Pyra, a legendary blade who can grant him incredible power. Pyra's trying to reach Elysium, a paradise at the top of the World Tree, where the architect who created their world lives, and Rex promises to take her there. The story deals with heavy themes about purpose, mortality, and what it means to be alive as you travel across different Titans, each with their own nations and cultures. Combat is real-time with auto-attacks that build up to arts, which are special abilities on cooldowns. Blades are living weapons bonded to drivers, and you can switch between different blades mid-combat for different weapon types and elements. The key mechanic is building up elemental combos by using different elemental attacks in sequence, which leads to fusion combos and eventually chain attacks where you can deal massive damage. Rex can equip 3 blades at once, and switching between them is crucial for setting up combos. You've got a party of 3 active characters, each with their own blades, and positioning matters because attacking from the side or back deals bonus damage.
Why not? Yeah! Gah! Ha! See, Grumps? I'm getting better.
Dragon Quest XI's puts you in the role of the Luminary, a young man who discovers on his coming-of-age ceremony that he's the reincarnation of an ancient hero, destined to save the world. Problem is, the king of Heliodor declares you're actually the Darkspawn, prophesied to bring destruction, making you a wanted fugitive. You're traveling across the world of Erdrea, gathering allies, uncovering the truth about your destiny, and eventually facing the dark force threatening everything. The story is classic JPRG hero's journey stuff, but executed perfectly with memorable characters and genuine emotional moments. Combat is turn-based, with a party of up to 4 active characters from your total roster of 8, each with unique skill trees and abilities. You can choose between free movement during battles or a more traditional fixed camera setup. The pep system activates when characters get fired up during battle, unlocking powerful pep powers when multiple pepped characters combine their abilities. Character building is deep, with skill points you allocate into different weapon types and abilities, letting you customize how each character plays.
Go on! You can do it!
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild stands as one of the most defining Nintendo Switch experiences, thanks to how confidently it reshapes open-world design. From the moment you step into Hyrule, the game gives you complete freedom, encouraging curiosity over strict objectives and letting exploration drive progression. Nearly every surface can be climbed, every distant landmark reached, and traversal becomes a constant decision-making process shaped by stamina, weather, and terrain. Its physics and chemistry systems are the heart of the experience, allowing players to experiment creatively, whether that means using metal objects during storms, manipulating wind and fire, or solving problems in unexpected ways. Combat is flexible and tactical, built around a wide variety of weapons that constantly break, forcing adaptation rather than routine. Swordplay, archery with slow-motion aiming, and well-timed dodges all reward skill, while rune abilities blend combat and puzzle solving into one seamless loop. Progression comes through compact shrine challenges that test logic, reflexes, and understanding of the game's systems, directly tying player growth to exploration. The story unfolds quietly and non-linearly, focusing on memory fragments and environmental storytelling rather than heavy exposition. And there you have it, the top 25 Nintendo Switch games you absolutely must play before you die. These games represent some of the best experiences gaming has to offer. What are your essential Switch games? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what games changed your perspective on gaming. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe to SwitchTop for more Nintendo Switch content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.